Hello everyone, this is Danielle, Josh, Nick, and Anna, and our cultural metaphor for Christianity in America is Congress. This is illustrated in the following 4 points. Member diversity, congressional prayer, member dynamics, and votes go both ways. Member diversity shows how the melting pot of America relates to the church. Congressional prayer illustrates authentic versus apathetic faith. Member dynamics shows the diverse differences between people in Congress and between people in the church. And differing votes shows how America is apt to swing for or against Christianity depending on what is happening in the world.
I'm sure many, if not all of you, have heard the United States described as the melting pot of America. Essentially what people mean when they say this is that the U.S. is a place where a wide assortment of individuals, cultures, and races have been incorporated into one. Despite the fact that the U.S. is a nation of immigrants, there is a widespread misconception that America was settled for the sole purpose of religious freedom and founded by Christians for Christians. If we could ask Billy Sunday, I'm sure he would emphatically support this idea. I mean, after all, America, quote, needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion, end of quote. The membership demographics of the 115th Congress reflect these misconceptions as well as the tide pushing towards the real truth of America. For example, 90% of Congress members are religiously identified as Christian. To those who believe in a Christian America, this may seem like an encouraging statistic. However, the term Christian here is an umbrella term that includes, but is not limited to, Protestants, Catholics, and Mormons. With so many theological discrepancies present under one term, it is impossible to say how many of these individuals are what we would call born-again Christians. Similarly, there is a popular belief that the Founding Fathers were primarily Christian. Although some of them were probably born-again Christians, a majority were deistic at best. While the congressional demographics have certainly been diversifying, the 115th Congress is the most diverse yet. The politician stigma of a white Christian male is changing. Although women and minorities still compose less than 20% of the overall congressional members, there are more women as members of Congress than ever before, and there are several individuals of races that have never before been members of Congress. The civil rights movement as a whole has been a work in progress for many years, but progress is slowly being seen throughout American social and political life. Essentially, the member diversity of Congress illustrates that America is diverse and is not the Christian nation that many have believed and continue to believe it to be. The diversity of Congress is a parallel to the diversity of religious belief and influencing factors of American society.
For a very long time, Congress has started many sessions and meetings with prayer, as well as holding national days of prayer. The tradition began a long time ago, before there was even a Declaration of Independence. Prayer was instituted in Congress as a religious freedom act. Samuel Adams and Thomas Cushing were behind this establishment, and it has traditionally been a Christian prayer, although the practice has come under fire in recent years. Starting with prayer sets the tone for congressional meetings, and many participants highly value it even if they aren't Christians. George Washington himself was fond of setting aside days for fasting, humiliation, and prayer. He would regularly hold nationwide days of prayer. Other presidents, like Lincoln and Buchanan, would also hold days of fasting and prayer when the nation found itself in turmoil. For example, President Bush declared days of prayer after the 9/11 terrorist attacks and after Hurricane Katrina. In 1952, President Truman declared the National Day of Prayer to be an annual observance. But through history, as the nation has moved from one heavily influenced by the Puritans to a more secularized nation, people started opposing national prayer because they considered it to be forcing Christianity on people. The court answered them back with, "You don't have to personally participate, just be respectful of the tradition." This is all very similar to how people view Christianity today. It sets the tone in our country for being one where morals are valued even if not everyone is a Christian. People act their part in religion but often don't have true faith in their hearts. Also similar to Christianity in America, what unfortunately happens a lot of the time with congressional prayer is that it becomes rote. It becomes something that you have to do, or something that you do because everyone else is doing it, or something that you don't participate in but are peripherally aware of in your life. That is how some view congressional prayer, and unfortunately it's also how some people view Christianity. It's there, but they don't always want it.
Congress often functions by the principle of, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, meaning that members of Congress function as a collection of individuals who relate to one another to accomplish their goals. Each member of Congress represents a constituency seeking to uphold certain values. Pork barrel legislation is when laws are set forth with certain bargaining chips. These can include funding for a certain institution or a budget cut for a government organization. Politicians barter by offering certain legislation known as pork on the condition that they receive something that they want. Many laws contain pork barrel legislation, which items that are not directly related to the law so that opponents will accept the legislation. Leaders of Congress make compromises in order to achieve their desired goals. How does Christianity in America act like a member of Congress? Christianity in America functions like a politician in that it has certain values it wishes to promote in society. Christians endorse certain candidates who support things that they value, such as pro-life, religious liberties, and fiscal responsibilities. Candidates cater to Christians in society by offering bait, certain items on their agenda that appeal to Christians. Christians, in turn, support the broader agenda of the candidate, which may include things that they do not agree with. An example of this is the support of Donald Trump by conservative Christians. During his campaign for president, Trump catered to the evangelical vote, and in turn, evangelicals expected that Trump would agree with them on the issues of gay marriage and abortions. Christians were dismayed when soon after his election, Trump extended the Obama initiative for LGBTQIA Americans. Another example involving a dynamic between Christianity and America was George W. Bush and his wide support among Christians. Bush campaigned to stop abortion and defend the traditional view of marriage. Although he did little during his presidency to stop abortion, he did oppose gay marriage, yet he conceded that homosexuals should be able to have civil unions. The evangelical vote will support him because they feel that Bush is one of them, and because they take the bait that Bush included in his agenda. This tactic shows why so many times conservative Christianity wholeheartedly supports the Republican Party and other candidates who did not support Christian values.
When it comes time for Congress to vote, they can either choose for a bill to pass or not. This can be affected by the time, culture, and what may or may not be happening in the world. For example, if there is a strong injustice happening and a bill comes to Congress to stop this injustice, it can be an easier choice for Congress to make. This compares to the relationship with Christianity and America by seeing if America will choose Christianity. In times of prosperity, Christianity can be used as something just added to the last step of prosperity. We can see an example of this in the 1950s, when the church attendance peaked compared to the wartime 40s and peace-searching 60s. Everyone was able to have the new and helpful products. The only thing left was to have morals, aka Christianity. Congress's agenda and the majority party will depend on how they vote. If the Congress is more Republican, they will pass more bills that support Republican ideals. This can relate to America's use of Christianity. America's feelings to what is happening at the time will show whether or not they will yet again choose Christianity. America always seems to put the American dream first, or American ideals first. If Christianity will be helpful further the American dream or add to the dream, as it did in the 50s, then America will choose it and be a, quote, Christian nation, unquote. If Christianity doesn't further the American ideal, then it may not be needed. As we are learning now in class, the 1960s, just a decade later, people no longer seemed to want Christianity. They were chasing ideals of peace and freedom in a variety of ways, and Christianity wasn't one of those ways. Christianity seems to be more of something America can choose to help us or be something we don't need for a period of time.
Overall, Christianity in America functions like a member of Congress. Each member of Congress represents a specific demographic, but not all members are Christian. Congress begins each session with prayer, but is largely symbolic in the same way America has been nominally Christian, incorporating certain elements of the faith into national life. Christianity interacts with other members of society to achieve its goals. Each member of Congress, like Christianity, uses compromises and bargaining to gain what they desire. The vote can go either way. America is Christian when it is convenient. The relationship between Christianity and America functions like a member of Congress, just one of the many forces in America that interact as members together.